programme, they always have a presentation day. We had a full house. They didn't always have, they were very surprised. Lots of parents turning up. The other thing they were surprised was by one other thing. They were surprised by a little fact they usually happens. They usually have the end of year session, the mums turn up. About 75% people turn up on them. Strangely, when it was football, I don't know why, but we're trying to still work it out, 80% men turned up. So they got a tour of Wembley and held the FA Cup, but they got talking. And I think that's what you have to do with these community projects. Football teams, certainly in England, are at the core of the community. And there's actually a map, I was going to put it up there, of football tribes in London. It's fascinating. And those football teams can unify communities, or they can walk away from them. What we've noticed is that some of those football teams, if you look at the terraces, the stadium, the people standing on the terraces do not look like people living around the stadium. And we've encouraged those stadiums to reach out to those communities and change it. So football can be a power of good. When we were doing this thing with 17 schools, we had this phrase, one rule, one game, one community. Someone said, that's genius. And I said, it is genius, but it could be 2 teams, 2 halves, 2 communities. Again at the Olympics, we tested what it was like to have a multi-faith chaplaincy. I have never set as many kibblers in my life as I have in recent months. I was at the media centre. There are several thousand miles of cables going under the faith ring. So if you bring your kibbler out, or your compass, any compass, onto a wire, it goes like this. So people are getting quite irate with each other, going, oh, the kibbler. So me and a Methodist sat there on the floor one afternoon working on the kibbler. 2 weeks later, one of the big Muslim organisations in Britain had to officially come. So I had my kibbler, and right next to it, pointing in the same direction, was one which was signed as halal. So mine wasn't halal, but it was in the right direction. So I'm proud of that. What conclusions can we get from this? I turn to theology. It's the Theology Society. And I turn to the thoughts of Martin Buber. When Martin Buber wrote the thing, I and Thou, it was a thesis of human existence. Inspired by Feuerbach and Kierkegaard, Buber worked upon the premise of the existence of encounter. He explained his philosophy using the words and the pairs if and do and if and is to characterise modes of consciousness, interaction and being through which an individual engages with the other. They expressed complicated ideas, particularly how a person exists and actualises their existence. As Buber argues in I and Thou, a person is at all times engaged with the world in one of these modes. The concept of communication, particularly language-oriented communication, dialogue and monologue, through metaphor and expressing nature of human existence. Common words for if and do are encounter, meeting, dialogue, mutuality and exchange. And one key if-do relationship we've identified was that which can exist between a human being and God. We would argue that this is the only way in which it is possible to interact with God, and that an if and do relationship with anything or anyone connects in some ways with the eternal relation to God. To create this relationship, the person has to be open to the idea of a relationship, but not actively pursue it. If it is, when the individual finally returns to the I-it, the act in a more deeper pillar of deeper relation community. Buber argued that human life consists of an oscillation between I and Thou and I-it. You can't be in constant engagement with one another all the time. Let's cut to the chase. Buber sees our relationship between I and Thou as a relationship which the only mode that can exist with God. And we're all created in the same image. And most global religions believe this. And humanistic traditions, if you want to go into that, also believe we're all created in the same humanity. We need to explore ironed out. We need to countenance and understand the other. That can be done through the Olympic Games, it can be done through football, it can be done through commonalities of being a Dubliner or a Belfast citizen or a Londoner. But most important is that we do it together. I think relationships take time to develop. And it is with great sadness that communities turn their backs on each other. My work has always been to encourage communication. We actually tried finally to look at this in a study. I was asked by Trevor Phillips when I worked with the Commission for Racial Equality, what works out there? Why are some communities, when there's international tensions this week, there's international tensions everywhere, why in some communities is there peace or quiet, and in other communities it always, as one of my colleagues says, it always kicks off. It always starts. And what we noticed was where there was a conscious effort, whether it be between so-called leaders or young people or participation schemes or encounter schemes, where there was a dialogue between communities, where people were able to pick up literally their phones to each other. Yes, there may be a day or so of trouble, but that was then sorted out. And there's an example in North London, a strictly Orthodox Jewish community in Stamford Hill lives alongside a very traditional Indian Muslim community. They've had problems once or twice, but certainly when there's something in the Middle East. But the imams meet with the rabbis, and it's quite a paternalistic community we can get into with it works as well. And they speak to the young men and say, look, we're going to literally stop talking to you, ostracise you, isolate you, if you don't stop attacking the other community. Oddly, it works. And when community is important, it will work. All I can finish by saying is that I would like to have an encounter with you, which is why I'm stopping. Human rights is a principle. Equalities are a principle. They're something we aim at. We can't use them as checklists. I go into lots of public authorities which like to have checklists. I did an equality assessment. I looked at his or her human rights. We did a human rights course, I love that one. And we did a human rights course 5 years ago. I'm sure 70% of the staff were here at the time. It's not good enough. They're principles that we have to abide by each day and learn from. And if we don't learn from them and learn them through practical action with our neighbours, we don't stand a chance of upholding. So thank you very much for listening to me. I've gone on far longer than I thought I would. I'm sorry I've overstretched, but I'd love to chat to you.